Hello, welcome to another interesting edition of your favorite parliamentary news magazine program, of course, but Parliament is on recess, so we've turned it into something else, but it's still related to Parliament. My name is Duke Mentopoko. This week I have a very interesting guest. As you know, when Parliament is on recess, we talk to former members of Parliament, we tap into their body of knowledge about public service, about life, and generally current issues. When I'm back from the break, I'll introduce you to my guest. Of course, I have named him, I've christened him one of the most decent men in Ghana's politics. He was member of Parliament in one of the constituencies in the Greater Accra region. When I'm back from the break, I will unveil my guest to you and we'll set the ball rolling. Stay with us. You're welcome back from the break. My guest is former MP for Okaikoi South and Managing Director for the Intercity STC, popularly known as STC. Nana Akomea, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Is your name, were you christened at birth Nana Akomea, or there is more that we don't know about, which has been shortened to what we know in public life since before?
I didn't see that coming. But yes, there is, or there was, an English name,
Okay.
which I abandoned when I was in my mid.
But where were you born? Were your parents?
I was born in
how's life?
It's still quite a little settlement, little village. Well, it's now a town, I should say. It's called Insutem.
Okay.
In Achimbe Buakwa.
Okay. It's on the Accra Kumasi.
You know where Linda Door is?
Yes.
That is my hometown.
Wow.
And indeed, where Linda Door is, my grandmother used to farm on that. Would take me there when I was a little boy.
So Insutem is different from Bonsu Junction?
It's about the same.
The same, okay.
But the two towns are fighting. But what happened was that, you see the turn of the Kumasi Road,
yes,
that goes to Bunsu.
Because
yes. Bunsu is up the hill.
Up there, yes.
Now, Bunsu is a much more popular town,
yes,
in the colonial days.
Okay.
Because they had a massive cocoa facility, research, production, and a college there at Bunsu.
College, yes. One of my uncles went there.
Yeah, so you have the Bunsu Agricultural Trading College, you have the experimental farms. It was a major focus of cocoa production in the colonial days.
Wow.
So they had the amenities of a town. If you have a big training college that was training agricultural extension officers, cocoa, new farms, we're developing new crops there, from Bunsu right up to Tafo. So it was a more popular town. So the turning that led to that town became known as Bunsu Junction.
Meanwhile, I was within Insutem.
It's part of Insutem land.
I see.
So, but the two towns are sister towns. The chief of Bunsu, as we speak today, they also come from Insutem. It's actually my second cousin or my third cousin. So basically the two of them are going to be the same.
Who are your parents? What did they do?
Both parents come from
Insutem.
So I'm 100% Insutem native. Both of them are deceased. My mother passed 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
My father passed much earlier. And I was actually born there in my grandmother's house.
Okay.
In a little room in that place. And then I started school, but we left. My father migrated quite early.
That should be Fantiakwa
South. Fantiakwa, one of them.
So if you didn't become MP in Accra, you could have been, you still can be MP in Fantiakwa.
I can still be MP. Actually, when I had finished 3 terms in Accra, they came to speak to me about coming back there.
To Fantiakwa.
And
anyway.
But then Accra people won't let me go. So
okay, let's talk.
So that's
about
why I come from. That's why I started school.
In
fact, just yesterday I was talking to my class 1 teacher.
Hey, he's still alive?
Yeah, he's in his early 80s.
Wow.
And we were talking about something. He's still there, kicking. So that's why I started school. But my father migrated quite early to Accra.
Okay.
So when he got settled, then he sent for my mother and myself. So we came to Accra quite early, when I must have been about 4 years. And so basically that's it. But we maintained the ties with the old town. Every holidays we'll go there and spend holidays there. So my ties to that place is still quite strong.
Wow.
Actually, I came from the place last weekend.
Wow.
I spent 2 days of the Easter over there.
Great. So which schools did you attend? Basic school?
Well, so I started from
high
Insutem LA, class 1, 4 years or so, and then I came to Accra. Well, it was kindergarten at Insutem. So when I came to Accra, I think the first settlement I remember is at Bubuashi, just around the Accra Academy.
Okay.
And then that was what I was told, because I was too little to recognize. Then we moved to Osu Ari.
Okay.
So at that time, I must have been 5 years. So I remember Osu Ari quite well. When the Kwame Nkrumah coup came,
66.
I was too little to know what was happening. But I remember I went to the roadside with my father, and there were women going to bury a dead body in a carriage. And apparently that was Kwame Nkrumah. I must have been 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And so I was aware. And so then I did kindergarten. Then we moved to Osu, I don't know if it's called Osu Aneho, but that's the original Osu village,
Aneho,
next to the castle. That's where we moved to. And so at that time, I must have been 5 years, 6 years. Started kindergarten again there. There's a school, I still remember that school. It's got a statue of Jesus Christ in that house. Now I don't think they're operating the nursery there anymore. And then we moved to Adabraka when I must have been 7 or 8. So Adabraka is really where I grew up. Because that must have been 7 or 8, and we lived there till I went to secondary school. So we must have lived at Adabraka from 7 years to about 12 years.
12 years.
So 4 or 5 years growing up. So Adabraka is really where I grew up. From there, we went to Latabi Okosh. We moved into the estates, kind of. No more compound house. So there you are isolated within the 4 walls. And then my father moved into his own place at North Kaneshin, where the family house still is.
Okay. Okay, but we lost you along the line in terms of the schools. So remember those when you came to Adabraka?
So when we got to Adabraka,
Aditrom.
Now, yes, the house was around Aditrom. You're an Adabraka boy?
Well, I work in Adabraka. My station is in Adabraka.
Okay, so it was around Aditrom.
Yeah.
But my father was determined that his children were not going to have the public school thing. So I was put at New Era School, which is at Tudu, but it is still there, behind the Accra Polytechnic.
Yeah.
So we used to call it New Era Preparatory School. I don't know what they call it now. So that's where I had so I started from class 1 over there to class 7 when I did a common entrance. Must have been 12 years or so, and then went to secondary school. So New Era really is where I schooled.
So which school was it?
Yeah, from class 1 to common entrance.
Yes.
So that's about, say, 6 years to 12 years.
Okay. And at 12 years you went to secondary school?
Well, I did a common entrance.
Yes.
I passed. So between 12 and 13, I went to secondary school.
Wow, which school?
I went to school in a very far place.
Which is?
Takrady.
GSTS, St. John's.
GSTS.
You went to GSTS. Oh, you were a giant.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean
these days I've shrunk because of old age.
Yes. Yeah, but giants have a certain aggression. I mean, forgive me, the giants, but you don't look it. You are very, or maybe old age.
Aggression comes in different forms.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, interesting. That's a nice place. The very first day I went there, I was amazed. You have the beach, you have the oval, very, very, very wonderful facility. I liked it.
So I spent 5 years there. I finished in 1979, finished the Form 5, and then I went to Cape Coast for 2 years, Agri Memorial School, to continue. Sixth form, finished at about 19 years old, and then I went to University of Ghana.
What did you read at Lagoon?
I read history and political science.
Great. Because there's this I don't know if he's still there, but there is this chief porter at Lagoon Hall. I was in Lagoon Hall, by the way. Yes, ended up being hall president in my final year.
Which year?
This is, you want to laugh at me? This is 2013.
2013.
Yes, I was hall president for 2013.
Once you finished school 10 years ago, you qualified to be a proper. So one more year, you become a full.
Yes. So there's this senior porter. We used to call him Ochiman. He never lost the opportunity to say that you are the embodiment of a Lagoon Hall trained person. Very gentle, very articulate, very. Ochiman never.
And he's still there?
I think, yes.
I have to
look for Ochiman.
I have to go and look for him.
He's called Ochiman.
I have to go and look for him. I'm surprised he hasn't looked for me.
Yeah. He would mention you, would mention some of the old Lagoon Hall people.
Yeah, because it's such a long time. So I left Lagoon in 1987.
Yeah.
And then I went back to read for the diploma program in communication studies.
Okay.
And Professor P.A.V. Ansan.
Wow.
So I did.
At the School of Communication Studies.
Yes, I did 1 year diploma, graduate diploma. And then I went to England to do another diploma at Cambridge.
Okay. Who are some of your contemporaries at Lagoon House Campus like in those periods?
Well, those days, the campus changes every maybe 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
For the worse.
We heard the stories. Yeah.
Because when I was on campus in the middle to late 80s, 1980s, we had a student loan.
Yeah.
And so you were fed free. You were fed free.
Yeah.
And we slept one person to a room. And we thought it was good.
Yeah.
But those who were in the school 10 years before us, who were now the lecturers and so on, they used to tell us, you people have had it so bad.
Those who were demonstrating over eating too much chicken.
So they used to tell us that, no, you people, you've had it so bad. When I say one to a room, I was in Lagoon Hall, in the main hall, and there are two rooms.
Yeah.
One larger room
and then
outer,
the inner room.
and then inner room smaller. The outer room is supposed to be your living quarters.
Wow.
And the inner room smaller is supposed to be the bedroom.
Yeah.
In my time, what is supposed to be the living quarters was now a bedroom. And of course, the smaller one was also a bedroom.
Yeah.
So when somebody is in second year, they move to the inner room because there you have a bit of privacy.
Yeah.
In the outer room, so they will pass through the outer room to the inner room. So they pass through your bedroom to get to their bedroom. So when you are in first year, you are put in the outer room. And when you are in second year, you force and go to the inner room. That was in my time. So there were two of us. Even though you had your own room, the former living room is now your bedroom. And you were there, one person.
Yeah.
So you called it your own room.
Your room, yeah, I know.
But the people who were 10 years before us, they used to tell us that outer room and the inner room was just one. Just one person.
It was their own room.
And then they would go to the dining hall and they would sit down and somebody would come and put a bib around their neck and they'll bring them the menu and then they'll bring them their cutlery and then they'll be served. And then the adverts about job opportunities will be brought to them. So as they are having their breakfast, and somebody is standing behind them to serve them, and they're also looking at the job opportunities available at Unilever and so on.
Wow.
So in my time, nobody served you. You had to go and queue for your food, but the food was still there.
Yeah.
And you still had your two people to those two rooms. And we thought it was good. But now, those two rooms, I'm sure you have like 6-7 people in there.
You have two in the outer and then one in the inner room. But even in the inner room, you have to ballot.
Okay.
So if you're in final year and you're not lucky and you don't get in.
It's getting worse. And it's getting worse simply because the population has been running way ahead of the
students.
Of the facilities everywhere. I mean, the hospitals are crowded, the schools are crowded because when I went to Form 1, the population of Ghana must have been like maybe 14 million. Today we are 30 million, which means all the facilities should have been doubled. You should have had 2 lagoons, because the population has doubled from the time I was in school. And the entire population of Lagoon at that time was about 5,000 when I was there.
That's like the population of a senior high school now. Because of
so
who were some of your contemporaries at Lagoon? Generally tech and others.
Obiamoa,
okay,
who is a local government, was my mate.
In political science?
Obiamoa, yeah.
Okay.
No. Was he? I think he read law.
Law, yeah.
But we're on Lagoon Hall. Asamoah Boateng was my senior.
Okay.
He was a big political figure, even in those days.
Wow. While on campus?
He was big. He was...
Asabi?
Yes. He was a huge political figure at Lagoon in those days.
Why? What made him so? Contest SRC presidency
and they were fighting against the PMDC.
Oh, okay.
Yes. They were the student front fighting against the PMDC, So he's always been a big in politics. And so he was there. He was, I think, 2 years or so ahead of me. Many of them, but of course, I'm just telling you the ones that you would know, the ones who have a bit of public name recognition. Then Botry, they were at tech, so I never saw them. But
well, must have been the people.
Sorry?
So I'm saying those must have been the people.
Yes.
And then after
Kennedy,
you
remember Atta Kennedy?
Yes.
He was there.
The new president who had to flee through Cote d'Ivoire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Atta Kennedy was, I think, 2 years ahead of me.
The medical school.
But he became the news president at that time, and so on.
Now, were you involved in student politics?
No.
At that time, you were not.
I wasn't. No.
Not at all.
I developed
JCR position, PUSA, nothing at all.
Oh, I remember. I was pushed to contest for SRC president of Lagoon Hall.
Okay.
Yes. Because of the way we held ourselves.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested. But when the time came, people came.
That's some agenda pushers coming to meet you and say, Charlie,
and so because they came to push me,
the enthusiasm was not really there.
Well, I thought that it was a done deal.
Okay.
So we didn't do much campaigning, and I lost.
Ooh, to who?
I've forgotten the chap's proper name, but we used to call him Chanton. That was a nickname.
Wow.
I also have a nickname which I won't tell you now. But
I have a lot of digging to do.
Many people who went to school with me don't know my real name. So even when I came into politics and the name Nana Akomea became quite common, many people couldn't know who it was. And so you had to be told, oh, but that is so and so. So, oh, okay. Because the people were more fond of calling you by a nickname than the name that your father gave you. So I also had a nickname. Okay. I can't remember the chap's name, but his nickname was Chanton.
Okay,
that's what.
Right. Then you left Lagoon. You started life in advertisement, right?
So when I left Lagoon, I did my national service for 2 years.
Where?
At Lagoon.
At Lagoon, as a TA.
As a TA.
Wow.
And then I did the diploma.
School of Communication Studies.
For 1 year, and then I went to England to do another diploma for 1 year.
Which school was?
Cambridge.
Cambridge. Wow.
So when I came back,
in what? Still comes and PR?
No. In the development studies.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what it was called. I don't know if it's still called that. It was when I came back that I went straight away into politics. So I came back in 1992, late 1992. They were just about to have the elections for the first parliament in 1992. That was when I came back. And then the next year I went into it. I became chairman for North Carnation Ward in Okaikoi South. I became the chairman. So basically, straight from school, I became chairman for 2-3 years. And then I became the parliamentary candidate
Wow.
in 1995. And I won in 1996.
Yeah, but let me take you back to school a bit. How was was there a lot of political mobilization on campus at the time? Because there was nothing like TESCON. Today there is TESCON.
No, the politics on campus was even much more than today.
Wow.
Yes.
Even without the...
No, today they don't do any politics.
Oh, there's TESCON, there's TAIN, there's, you know...
No. Do you know the TAIN president?
At Lagos, no, I don't know him. I don't know the TESCON.
So that makes my point.
Okay.
But in those days, you would know the NUGS president, you would know the leaders. For a very simple reason. The reason was that in those days, you didn't have political parties.
Yeah. Yes.
So the student movement became the main movement against government.
True.
That is it.
That's why I had very popular student leaders, Tobiko Achiata, Kennedy.
All of them cut their bones through opposition to government.
Even recently, Haruna and Dusa Blakwa and Co.
Yeah. So you have a student, look, in Buzia's time, when I was a very little boy, one student leader became famous across the country because apparently he had gone and pulled Buzia's tie or something. So when you were NUGS president, it was a huge
thing.
And when Rawlings came, he tapped into that student movement. And indeed, the NUGS president almost became a de facto member
of the PNC.
Of the PNC.
Oh.
When Rawlings came at that time, I remember the chap was called Gardner. Very articulate man. I don't know where he is now. But, I mean, he was always on radio. The media would seek his opinion. And all. It was big. Student politics was big in that time. Now, because of political parties and so on.
So the partisanship has harmed it. Now we have two people claiming to be NUGS presidents. We have two. I mean, it's been like that for some time now. A lot of things happening on the campuses and the rest.
I think that the university should take an interest because it doesn't speak well of student politics. If at that level you can have the situation where there are rival presidents. No. And I don't think the university authorities have given student politics, at least the organization of elections.
Okay.
They've given it much thought. And it's been shown that the structures as they exist now, because this is not the first time you've had rival presidents. Yeah. you keep hearing, two presidents and so on. I think the university should get more involved to sanitize the process. The process as it is now, obviously, is not working. And it tarnishes the image of the student front.
Okay, we'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll delve into Nana Akomea's politics, public life. Stay with us. You're welcome back from the break. This is still the chamber. I'm having a conversation, a chit chat with the Honorable Nana Akomea. Before we went to the break, we pretty much went through his formative years. To now, he's completed university. He's back doing some politics. He's ward chairman of the New Patriotic Party in North Kaneshie. But for someone who was running away from politics in school, you had to be, sort of pushed to contesting. Some would say that innate bone, that innate desire wasn't there. How come right after? Was this something you saw in England? You came back and decided right away to go into active partisan politics?
No, I think I have always been interested in politics because at GSTS, they used to do what they call the mock.
Parliament.
Mock parliament. And my party always won. Wow. So I was prime minister.
Okay.
A mock prime minister, secondary school, GSTS in Takrady. It's just that the university campus politics.
So it's not attractive enough.
Yeah, it was also filled with danger.
Yes.
Because
the mafia work.
The student movement basically became the opposition to.
Okay. And so there was a lot of government
military
targeting.
Government. Yes. I mean, you talked about one leader having to run away and so on and so forth. So you want to focus
on your
and finish it. But I'd already been interested in politics.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so when I came back from England in late 1992, and they had just finished the elections for the first parliament. It was natural for me to enter politics. So I started as a member of the party at North Kaneshie. And then in about 6 months, they elected me as chairman for North Kaneshie. They had 6 electoral areas. North Kaneshie, Bubuashi had 3, Kanchia, Bubui, and Bubuashi proper.
Okay.
Bubuashi proper is Accra Academy area. Bubui was coming towards the main road, and then Kanchia was also called Agbe Town. And so the Bubuashi had 3 electoral areas. And then you had Kaneshie, Awudome. And then you had the other one from Circle up to Abikan Junction. I've forgotten the name that they used to call it. So 6 electoral areas. So North Kaneshie was 1. And I became chairman of North Kaneshie for 2.5 years. And then they elected me parliamentary candidate. Yeah. I was very young at that time, really 3 years out of school. So out of school from
just
England.
3 years after out of
school. When I came out from England.
It was 3 years after school.
Yes, so I was relatively young. Indeed, I was there. Even when I entered Parliament, I was the youngest for the NPP side. So,
your early 30s?
Yes, 34. So it was a turbulent period. Rawlings was in office. You still had this aura of a military dictator around him. It was seen to be dangerous to be opposing Rawlings. Indeed, during the campaign in 1996, many places that I went to in my constituency to campaign, they will tell you that you are the young man, we've heard of you, blah, 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 blah. We will vote for you, but we will also vote for Rawlings. He said, no, if you don't vote for him, he won't step aside, he will bomb the country. Let's vote for him and let him go. I mean, and this is the middle of Accra. Yeah. People still had that perception. So people will tell you, yes, we like you, you're a nice young man, we've heard of you. We'll vote for you, but we won't vote for Kufuor. You say, but if you don't vote for Kufuor, I mean, basically, it's like your head is inside, but your legs are outside. I said, no, let's vote for Rawlings, let him go.
Yeah. But what is it that attracted you to the New Patriotic Party?
Oh, the ideals of the New Patriotic Party, I believe, makes the party the natural home for every young person.
Really?
Every young person of talent and skill. People like you. For the simple reason that the New Patriotic Party is the only party that says that you must reward merit. Yeah. Individual effort, that the individual efforts make up the collective. So focus on the individual, create a space for the individual to maximize their potential. And when all of us are able to maximize our potential, the whole society maximizes its potential. That's why the motto is development in freedom.
Politics is not a full-time job. When you came back 3 years ago, became chairman, what were you doing professionally?
Yes, in those 3 years when I was chairman for North Kaneshie, I was going to set up my own company to do marketing, to use the communication that. And so in the process of setting it up, I met one gentleman who said, young man, I like your ideas, I like your drive, but you're going to set up on your own, it's difficult. You may eventually succeed, but it's difficult. Why don't you come and let's work together? Because I already have this company going, and it will provide an environment for you to grow. And then after a few years, if you feel like
you want to go out, you can.
So he convinced me to join him. And that gentleman, unfortunately, he's now passed. That he's Kofi Bokna.
Oh, the legend.
The legend.
Yeah, GBC
the film,
actor.
The GBC.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't GBC, it was an actor.
I know, he was an actor, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Kofi Bokna, yes.
He became the GBC director of TV when I was at Ministry of Information. I remember him. Yes. So,
and then from his movie.
Yes, Heritage Africa, I think.
Yes, Kofi Bokna.
Famous and consummate actor. But he also had a company that was doing marketing advertising called Focal Point.
Oh, he owned Focal Point.
Yes, he owned Focal Point. And so I had gone to them to discuss some business. I had gone to Lintax of Jake to discuss some business and so on, because I was setting up on my own. And then he said, no, come in, let's do this, come in, let's do. It was a lot of pressure. I said, okay, why don't I try it? So I joined his company as a client service manager. We had a successful partnership. We produced the famous children's program called Cheche Kule.
Wow.
Yes, for 3 years.
Wow.
With George Lane.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was one of, and then we had brands like Maltina, which was being done by KBL. Kumasi from Maltina, to challenge Malta Guinness.
Yeah.
We had the Achimota Brewery at that time. They brought a bubra with a man and a woman clinking glasses. All of those things were ideas. And then, of course.
Wow.
So we had an interesting 3 years.
And then you went to Parliament.
Yeah, he encouraged me.
Okay, so you were in Parliament in 97.
Yeah.
You were part of these 60-something vibrant MPP people in the second Parliament, which has been described as probably the best parliament in the country's fourth Republican history.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm currently reading Ken Jaras's book, The Defining Moments, and he paints a very vivid picture about how it was when they were in the first Parliament. Virtually no opposition, nothing. They had to sometimes stage, protest against the finance minister and the rest. And then you have these 60 guys with J.H. Mensah, who could be on his feet for 2 hours, making sensible, cogent arguments, could challenge the speaker. Then you have Akufo-Addo, you have Osafo Manfo, Hackman, and in all that, Apreku, and in all that mix, there was you.
I was there. I was the youngest.
How was it like?
I was the youngest of the bunch. So I was at the back bench.
Yeah.
And all these people were my seniors, and they were at the front bench. And it was very exciting.
No intimidating?
No. It was
so
very
to
exciting.
be among the likes of Akufo-Addo had been fighting from 79 or something.
Well, I had also won a big constituency in Accra.
True. Okay. So Okaikoi South, as it is now, is not what you were MP of. It's now been divided.
No.
It's still the same.
Okaikoi South.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Central wasn't carved out of South.
Well, there was a bit of political, in my view, political manipulation.
Oh, really?
Very dirty manipulation by the NDC.
Okay.
For the simple reason, I don't say things. I say things because I have very cogent facts to support it. Like you are saying, there was Okaikoi South, and then there was Okaikoi North.
Yes.
2 constituencies. Yes. And I was for South. And at that time, an elderly gentleman, Daku Mensah, was for North, Okaikoi North. Then the NDC decided in 2012,
before the 2012 elections,
to divide the constituency into 2. Now, if you have North and South, and you want to create Central, where will you place it?
In between the 2.
You know where they place the Central?
No.
Inside Okaikoi North.
Okay. That takes me back to my political science lesson. But I will not mention the word that is used for it.
Oh, no, it's called gerrymandering.
I didn't want to mention.
No, a young man like you should be forthright. That's fine. So, listen. So, they said Okaikoi North and South were won by the NPP. They wanted a little bit of it. So, they looked at some of the areas where they were strong and carved out that area so they can also get a constituency.
But your party is also accused of doing the same. In 2004, for instance, there was Asukwa East, there was Asukwa West. You looked at it, carved a bit out of it, looked at certain places and carved out Asawase, which would go to the NDC so that you could take the 3 other seats.
No, that cannot be gerrymandering. If we had the seats,
yes,
and we carved out something and the NDC won, then it's not gerrymandering.
Out of 3, you win 2, they win 1.
Or they carved it into 3?
There were 3. They actually ended up being 3. Ofori Krom, Asawase, and then the old Asokwa.
And we won 2.
And yes, MPP still has 2.
But we already had 2. So why would we carve out and still get 2?
Because there was a potential for Asokwa East to go one day. So that was projected into the future.
No,
That's what the political scientists tell us.
It may be so, but your own facts don't support what you are saying. Because we had two. We had Asokwa seat to ourselves. And then we carved it into three. And then we got two. But we already had a whole seat.
In the scheme of
in the case of Okaikoi, NDC didn't have north or south. But even if they had carved the central Okaikoi from the center, I wouldn't have. But they carved it from one and called it central.
They didn't win. NDC didn't win anyway.
They won it.
They won the north.
Yes.
Okay. And then now they have.
And then they lost it.
Yes. And then now they.
And
have
now they've won it.
Okay.
So
interesting.
There's a clear case of them.
How was that parliament? Working in that parliament, how was it?
Well, like I said, the whole nation was excited. It's not just the NPP. The whole country was excited that you were going to have opposition members in parliament. And it was just 60 of us, 61. And then there were 4 people who were from the CPP. Freddie Blade, the current chairman, Amma, this chap called Amma, and then Abekan. They're just like 3 or 4 CPP who joined us. And so we became like 65. But the NDC at that time was 133. And we were 61 plus 4. But of course, we were such a tiny minority because 133 against 65, you know. But we had a leader in J.H. Mensah who on many occasions made us look like the majority. Because, I mean, you couldn't debate J.H. Mensah. He was absolutely brilliant. And I believe that second parliament of this fourth republic, we should call it the J.H. Mensah parliament.
Oh, really?
His domination of that parliament was total and complete.
He had experience from the Buzia parliament.
Apparently, in Kwame Nkrumah's time, when he must have been a young man in his late 20s, he wrote the 7-year development plan. And then in Buzia's time, which is about 4 years after Kwame Nkrumah, he became finance minister. Still a young guy in his maybe middle 30s and so on. So coming back to 1996, of course, he was also the oldest. He was 1 week older than Justice Annan, who was the speaker. So anytime there was a conflict between them, he would point it out to him. But he was 69 at that time. And Justice Annan was 69. Even the Nana Akomea, they were in the early 50s. They were all young men at that time. I was 34. So everybody called me their Wafasi. And so you get help from all over because everybody saw you as their niece, their nephew. So I enjoyed that period totally. But we made so much impact in those 4 years that in the next election in the year 2000 we moved from 61 seats to 100 seats. Even that one, there were some 1 or 2 seats that were. You remember the Ayawaso Wagon?
Rebecca Adote,
which was a clear failure of the judicial system. But that's another. That's why the Supreme Court had to step in so you don't get the same situation with the current. Otherwise, it could drag to 2024. But the Amo case is a clear example. But we moved from 61 in 1997 in one election cycle to 100. So that showed you the work that parliament
How does that parliament compare to our current parliament, which a lot of people also have questions and concerns about? We have a hung parliament, virtually hung, and a lot of things are happening. Budget became brouhaha, levy.
Well, what it means, one, I believe the numbers in parliament are too many.
Okay. The 230, too many?
275.
275.
Yes. If I had my way, I'll cut it to 200.
Really? That means MPs will have bigger constituencies to administer.
We used to be 200. We used to be 200 from 1993
to 2004.
To 2003. 10 years. We used to be 200. And now with the numbers, it's difficult to even get noticed, you know. And also, you can't tell me with any certainty that the increase in numbers by 75 has had any major impact that we can see. You can't convince me.
At least people have MPs who can apply common fund to certain specific areas, rather than spreading it out to say a place which was previously maybe 2 constituencies.
So the common fund and so on are applied by population. There's a formula which takes account of population.
But at least, even no matter how small it is, they will still get their share.
Really, what the Constitution envisages for us, which we haven't had the political bravery to do, is that the constituency should be the same numbers.
Yeah.
So the country should be divided into 200 equal parts by population.
That's what you think will work.
That's what the Constitution, it should be by as much as possible, equal numbers.
Because you can't have a dummy Kwabinya so
with
many
140,000 and then some constituency
with about 10,000 or 15,000.
Yeah.
That's a huge balance.
So we should have the political bravery to do that.
All right. So we'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll delve into the last final moment of the program here, focusing on stewardship here at STC and some of the latest issues in town. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. So this week, the Economics Intelligence Unit, we're all not new to that organization. From time to time, they release reports about what's happening in the country. They make forecasts and the rest. This week, the latest report came out, and 2 main things stand out. One, the fact that their baseline forecast suggests that there's a high likelihood that the NDC would come back into power in 2024. But they think that the person they should put on their ballot should not be the former President John Mahama, who you were in Parliament with. Yes, And then also the fact that the current circumstances, economic and others, and the MPP's MPP's upcoming primaries, presidential, may cause the party to go into opposition. What are your thoughts on this report?
Well, the Economics Intelligence Unit's report is interesting. Everybody in this country, including the NPP, we know that at this time, because of the current difficulties, if an election was held today, the NPP would not be the most popular party. We know it. Fortunately for us, elections will not be held today. Elections will be held in 2.5 years' time. And we believe that gives us more than enough time to remedy the current difficulties and get back into the good books of the majority of the voters. So we don't have any worry with any reports that is telling us today that we are not popular. We know it ourselves.
But apart from that, nobody in this polity, no political party in this polity has been able to serve consistently for more than 8 years. Hence, the MP has coined the tag breaking the 8. Break something means there's a barrier. There's a barricade that must be broken.
It is not a fiscal barrier because the electorate don't go into a meeting. The 15 million people who vote in this country, they don't go into a meeting and decide that it is 8 years, so let's change. Or it is only 4 years, so let's maintain. If politicians believed so, then 4 years there will be no contest. So nobody believes it. People just use it because that's the situation that has been. But we're told in this country that if we were not called John.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, so that one too.
You couldn't be president.
That one too. And one of the main candidates in the NPP was called John. So he used it that, look, this country, John is the name.
Yeah. John is the presidential name.
So that one too.
Yeah.
And then they said that if the elections in Ghana, the 4-year cycle corresponds with the American cycle,
yes,
and
yes,
so
yes,
the
yes.
party that wins in America determines.
who
It
wins
used
in
to be, and in fact, when you track, you could see that there's that correlation.
Spot on until the last election.
So these things are not written.
So the 8 can be broken.
It will be broken because it's not in stone.
Okay.
And I'm saying if politicians, political parties, and if we believe that, then we wouldn't contest after 4 years.
But apart from the prevailing conditions, many think that the most dangerous test for the NPP will be its presidential primaries. And now, the two frontrunners, Alan Kyerematen, this will not be the first time we're contesting, and then Vice President Bawumia. If this is not managed well, and it's already started with the polling station elections, constituency elections coming up yesterday, we heard about what happened in Sisala West and all. Does the NPP have what it takes to go through this fire, to pull the chestnut out of the blazing fire and be a united party going into the 2024 election after this? Okay. Looking at what happened in 2007.
Okay. Now, just to conclude on the EIU.
Yeah.
So, there's a funny situation coming from our friends in the NDC. They take the baseline projection that says that they would win. But the part that says that winning will be secured on the candidature of somebody. They say that one, they don't take it. So these people are approbating and reprobating. But that's typical NDC. You can't trust them. Because you can't take the report and say, we like this part, we accept it. But this part, the people don't know what they are talking about.
But to be candid, who else other than John Mahama to lead the NDC?
But that is the dilemma. That's the dilemma. He's the strongest person in the NDC and the person most likely to rally the NDC party.
Yeah.
But he's the weakest person outside the NDC simply because
he has a record.
So that's the dilemma that the NDC is in, and how they resolve it is also their headache. But they should stop this business of approbating and reprobating. There should be a party that looks in one direction, not looking forward and backwards at the same time. You can't trust them right from the beginning, NDC. Now, the NPP primaries, so far, we can do better, or we could. I mean, we haven't finished. That's what I'm saying. We can. We've seen quite some significant problems with the polling station level.
Elections.
Yeah, we've seen them. So we could have done better at that level. But we also have other elections coming up.
Constituency.
The constituency level.
Regional.
The regional level.
National
level.
Before the big one.
So, so far, we could have done better. And I'm hoping that those in charge have taken notice of the difficulties that have attended the polling station and ensure that with the constituencies and the regionals and the nationals, these difficulties are minimized. So I have every hope that the management and the organization would get better as we go along. A lot is going to turn on how the presidential elections, the presidential primaries itself go. My personal view on the matter is that the party should be able to have a consensus and have the two leading candidates run together.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a very contrarian view. One Bawumia and Alan to run together.
Yes. For a very simple reason. The simple reason is that for the first time, the two leading candidates also satisfy the North-South divide. You see, if Alan won, he is most likely to choose a running mate from the North.
True.
If Bawumia won, he is most likely to choose a candidate
from the South.
Sorry, a running mate from the South. The two of them, they are the leaders. I mean, everybody knows. The other people coming in, very gentlemen who've served the party well. But when we are talking of the two, we've always known the front runners, haven't we?
Yeah.
In 1992, it was a Dubois-Hini and Kufuor. Dubois-Hini won. In 1996, it was a Dubois-Hini and Kufuor.
Kwame pinned him somewhere until the court case.
Kwame Pianim didn't take part, unfortunately. It was a Dubois-Hini and Kufuor again, and this time Kufuor won. In 1998, the front runners were Kufuor and Akufo-Addo, and Kufuor won. There was no primary in 2000. There was no primary in 2004. The primary in 2008, the front runners were Alan Gerrymandering and Akufo-Addo. Everybody knew it. And indeed, the results showed. Akufo-Addo won, Alan was second. The primaries in 2012, we knew the front runners, Alan and Akufo-Addo. And indeed, they were first and second. 2016. So we've always known the front runners. And the front runners today are Alan and Bawumia. Now, in all the previous primaries, the two front runners did not satisfy the north-south divide.
True.
I mean, Dubois-Hini and Kufuor didn't satisfy. They were all from the south. Kufuor and Akufo-Addo, all from the south. Akufo-Addo and Alan, all from the south. This time, you have Bawumia and Alan, both satisfied. So, I would want a certain consensus to be built within the party to have the two of them run together.
Interesting.
It will save us an acrimonious. And the party provides that when we're in office, the primary should be in the election year.
Yeah.
So it's going to avoid an acrimonious primary, which the party may not recover fully from. And we'll have a smooth and have the peace of mind to concentrate fully with a united party for the 2024. That is my view. And I would like, if the party, we can get like-minded thinking, so we can see how we can build that consensus. As to who becomes running mate and who becomes president, we can leave it to them. Once the party feels that is the way to go, you leave it to the two of them to sort it out.
Okay.
So that is my view. But I agree with you that the organization of these elections, especially the presidential elections, how successful that we are able to do it without dividing the party too much will be crucial in our chances for 2024.
All right, let's end this conversation on what's happening here with STC. STC is back on the road, very vibrant, in the news again, for all the right reasons. I mean, for someone who's been in frontline communication for the party for a very long time, many people, including myself, thought that you would have been rewarded, for want of a better word, with a ministerial position or presidential advisor position or something. And here you are with STC. Did you ask to be brought here?
Yes.
Why?
Because
the institution then was almost moribund, like Siberia or something.
What the president had in mind for me originally, I wasn't excited about it. Yes. So the president was disappointed that, why, and he wanted to convince me because he thought I'll be very good in that position he wanted me to. So eventually when he realized that I wasn't interested, many of these positions that were gone. So they were left with the SOEs. There were some big SOEs that I could have chosen. But really, what haven't I seen? I was an MP at 34. I stayed in Parliament for 16 years. I was a minister, the youngest minister at that time. So I wanted a challenge. Now, I mean, if the ministerial positions were gone and all of that, then I wanted a place where I could call a challenge, which everybody knew to be a challenge. Today, my younger brother, the MP for Lejo, former MP for Lejo, Koko, has been assigned to health insurance. Everybody say, there's nothing there. It's dead. But Okoboy sees it as a challenge. So if he goes there, or when he goes there, and is moderately successful, and everybody can see, Ghanaians didn't used to see STC. You always saw VIP, some of the other ones. Now you see STC.
Yeah.
Your company, I mean, you wouldn't move without STC.
Yes, true.
And every
For
year,
our heritage caravan,
you come, we give you all the buses, and the service is excellent.
Superb.
You know.
Yeah.
So we are now a force to reckon with. And so everybody can see.
Yeah.
And for me, the satisfaction is much more than if I had gone to some ministerial thing and just
been there. So
been
it's
there.
Legacy.
I mean, of course, I don't have any doubt that I could make the same impact. But for me, what is important is the impact.
Great.
Once the impact is there, you can always talk to it. And since I came here, I've had excellent cooperation with the staff here, the unions, the general staff. And also, I have a little political weight.
Yeah.
And I've leveraged that weight to get a company.
Go on.
So when I came, there were 50 buses, which the previous government had bought. It's a very good thing they did. In fact, they were going to sell the company again around about 2014, thereabouts. Because we were tired of it, making losses.
Losses, yeah.
And basically dead. And then my predecessor convinced the government to give it a last shot. So the government decided to provide 50 buses, which came around October 2016. When I came, around about around May in 2017, with the 50 buses, there were always about 20 of them packed.
Why?
They couldn't get passengers. Because the company had been dead for a long time.
So yes, a lot of people. Even
people
I think one of the smartest things you actually done is to bring your terminals closer to the people.
So the buses were packed.
Yeah.
You know, there were all kinds of stories about why STC wasn't succeeding. Passengers were. They tried all they could, but the missing link was that the dynamics of the transport had changed.
Yeah.
So the smartest thing we did was to move the terminals to the people.
True.
And that's
resuscitated it.
And
because in terms of safety,
as I speak, we got 2 terminals, one at Circle, one at Kumasi, Asafo.
Yeah, Asafo, yeah.
And that doubled our revenue immediately. And as I speak, we are establishing terminals across the country.
Yeah.
In strategic areas.
I've seen Amasam and I've seen Kaswa.
Kaswa, the Pokwasi is coming up nicely. Kumasi, there are 2 more coming up in Kumasi. You know, so just letting the service be available. And also, we are now credible. From the 50 buses, we got 100 buses 2 years ago. And now we've got another 50 brand new buses sitting there. You see the red ones. We're now coming to spray them in our colors. About 50 of them.
Wow.
So,
and you are profitable.
There are challenges.
COVID.
COVID has been a big blow, but that is to everybody. But the border closure.
Yeah.
Because we have business in Abidjan, Ouagadougou. In fact, we are one of the biggest carriers, ferrying people. You know, this Francophonie, they rely a lot on Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. So there's a lot of to and fro. And we are one of the biggest carriers, moving people from Cotonou and Lomé to Abidjan and back to Ouagadougou to Abidjan and back from Ghana. We're one of the biggest carriers. All that business for 2 years is gone. But perhaps the biggest problem that we face is that there's a mismatch between petroleum pricing
and your prices
and the fares.
True.
In the last 20 months, fuel has gone up 116%.
And electricity prices are virtually the same.
28%. So those are the difficulties we are navigating.
Okay.
But when with the border coming over. The border closures, there's still a problem. Our neighbors have not reopened.
Yeah.
Togo hasn't, Cote d'Ivoire hasn't. We hope that they will reopen. Then that will be a big boost for us. And we hope that we are still talking to stakeholders to get the pricing a bit more responsive. When we get that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nana Akomea. This has been the Chamber. My name is Duke Mensofoko. Catch the same program, same time next week on this channel.